Hi, I'm John Atack, and yet again I am thrilled and delighted to have Karen De La Carriere with me on the show. Hi, Karen.
John! John, come here and get a hug. John.
Great to see you again.
Lovely to see you.
And because we've just had Halloween, you suggested that you had a scary story, a ghost story.
Oh, my ghost story.
Oh.
John, I was plucked out of the flag service organ to Clearwater and sent on mission to sec check Bo Wenberg.
And that's a security check. That's to find out somebody's sins and transgressions.
Interrogatory.
Mm.
The revenue had been coasting. Scientology runs like a business. It masquerades as a religion, but it's run like a business. How many crates of Coca-Cola were shipped to Disney before Thursday, 2 o'clock? It's completely run on metrics. Like Amazon, it's metrics.
Yeah.
So the metrics showed that revenue which is the prime statistic of Scientology. Cash. How much cash? How much cash in the door? That's not how many people got a benefit or were enhanced. Cash.
Mm.
So the cash graph, everything is graphed and studied and evaluated. So I was sent to find out why the cash graph was dwindling down with interrogatory questions. Mm. This guy was darling, a Swedish guy. He was running, he was the commanding officer of what is now called, I think it was CLO even then, FOLO or CLO.
And that's the Flag Operations and Liaison Office and the Continental Liaison Office. Am I right? Do I remember right?
Yes, absolutely. Lower level management.
So many initializations in Scientology that you have to learn.
Right.
Very complicated.
So this guy called Mark Ingber shipped me off to find out what his criminal conduct is. This guy is working 60 to 80-hour weeks. Mm. Oh, now the birthing of CO members was this old, dilapidated building off 4th Street. You looked at it, it looked like a building out of Psycho. It was just
what Hubbard called downstat.
Downstat. And it had one of those elevators that, they have like gates. The gate of the elevator slowly closed. You don't have any elevators with gates like that. This was an old building from the 1920s. Anyway, because Bo Wenberg worked late at night, he wasn't ready for sessions. I went home one night and I woke up at 1 o'clock, just like literally the hairs were standing on my, like they talk, it's a goose walking over your grave when you feel like a shiver. And I heard clonk, clonk. But it was the footsteps of someone coming up the stairs. And I had fear. This is not something I'm not prone to meeting ghosts or shaking hands with ghosts. I really don't. This was strange. And then I got pictures in my head that I was in a room. I was alone in this, of a guy in my mind's eye. And I thought that the clomp, clomp, clomp I heard was this guy who was now showing me these pictures. John, I was terrified. I was just terrified. And anyway, the night was over. Because I was a missionaire sent from INT, I sat at the CMO table for lunch and dinner, the Commandant Messenger table. I was considered high. And Mo, the commanding officer of CMO, suddenly in the middle of lunch said, did any of you guys hear that ghost like pumping up the stairs? And I was like, because I tossed this off as maybe I was dreaming, and this was such an acknowledgement. She said, I was really spooked last night. Some ghost is haunting the thing. Anyway, let's get back to the Scientology part of it.
I thought we were going to have an explanation of some kind there, you know, that it was shade wandering up the steps or something.
Well, I'm embarrassed about the Scientology. There is a Scientology section, which is coming, but I felt embarrassed, but I was auditor trained, not trained. So I basically talked to the guy and made him, he hadn't see, if you're atheist and agnostic, people will think I'm a bit loony, but I feel he was a spirit who couldn't transition over into whatever afterlives. He was stuck in some kind of between lives where he didn't understand or whatever. So I just coaxed him to tell me the story of getting the gun out of his suitcase, sort of a very loosey-goosey book one thing. And then when I got back to Flag, I confessed it, because this is considered squirrel.
Yes, you've done something that's not in the book.
Scientology makes you pay from OT3 to OT8. It makes you pay to exorcise spirits that have no body, that are just lurking and satelliting around your body. However, if you audit a ghost, ethics. So let me get, so anyway, the spirit did take off after I acknowledged the gunshot to the head that spirit took off.
No, you know, as you say, there are atheists and agnostics who would be, you know, feel superior to you. But let me just say, a couple of years ago, there was a survey of atheists all around the world, and it was discovered that 70% of them, although they did not believe in God, did believe in something magical and supernatural. So there are actually very few people who don't feel this. Even Richard Dawkins, who's, you know, the emperor of militant atheists, has said that he wouldn't like to spend a night in a haunted house. And I'm kind of, what's your problem?
Or at the far end of a cemetery. You go all alone and sleep in a cemetery.
Ever since I was a kid, I've been very happy in cemeteries in the middle of the night.
Really?
It doesn't bother me at all, you know. But I have, you know, I have also had experiences long ago when I was a teenager, which I had one particular experience where somebody came to me and said that his neighbor, this young woman in this apartment block, was really scared because her partner had died of a heroin overdose some months before, and she thought that she saw him on the balcony as she was coming home. And for some reason, I was about 18 at the time. I don't know why they decided on me, but they decided that I could help them to you know, deal with this phenomenon. And I sat down with her and with this guy, and they were all very shaky and what have you. And I suggested that it's before I got into Scientology, suggested that she close her eyes and just tell me what it was she experienced. And her experience was very much what you're saying, the sense that he was stuck and he needed to move on. And she felt that solved the problem for her. Of course, this is before Scientology, so I could have charged money for this. You know? So, yeah, how we interpret reality, yeah, let everybody do it for themselves. I'm not too bothered. I am an agnostic, and that means I don't have to believe in anything. And it also means I don't have to disbelieve anything, so it's great. Okay.
So can I finish off the Scientology part of the story? Because I want to let the audience know of the brutality of the culture of a cult that is completely authoritarian and controls you. I got back, I went to the I said I audited a ghost and all, and the ethics officer was busy and brushed me off. This was not like, okay. Thank you for reporting that. Okay, I got no ethics. 2 days later, I was summoned by the IJC, International Justice Chief, a very nice Australian called Hamish Hamilton. Hamish, Hamish was the senior most ethics officer, and he blew about a year later after all this. He fled, never surfaced, he's never, nobody know. Anyway, so here he is, in Hamish Hamilton, tall, 6'4", and he summons me, and he's looking at a lot of paperwork, and he goes, "You are to go to the laundry room and fold towels, awaiting a committee of evidence." And he's studying more paperwork. He's gotten orders from INT. And I say, "For what?" And he said, "It looks like Bo Wenberg fled the Sea Org a few days after your sec check. You missed whipples, dear. Only reason someone blows is they've got secrets they've kept from revealing."
They think
this is clearly circumstantial evidence. You come into town, you ask him some questions, he flees. So I go start folding towels, and then I'm summoned again, and I'm told, "You have to clean the gunk in the lower levels of the kitchen and the pots and pans 14 hours a day. That is your punishment." Yeah. So I feigned some great toothache, and I went to my room and this and that. Now, the committee of evidence summoned me, and they said, "You're going to lose." It was hinted that I would lose all my certs. Going to fall from class 12, top of the Eiffel Tower, into the River Seine. And it was a very dark period of my life. I didn't feel I had done anything wrong.
No.
Then, just to show, so it was 3 weeks while this committee of evidence went on, this kangaroo court, that I was just, it was in a dark place. And my view of the Sea Org was truly changing. Then Ray Mithoff came to my rescue. He had been gone. He wasn't around it. And he came back and he saw all this traffic. See, when I did this interrogatory on Bo, they didn't let me have any of his folders to study his history. They were all at Inpex. All I had were the questions. And it turned out Bo had cancer. And his doctor had warned him, "You keep drinking coffee and working till 4 a.m. and getting up at 8, you're going to, you're not going to live more than 6 months." I never knew any of his cancer, nothing. And then after I left, he had such a flare-up of illness. The cancer did it because he kept this god-awful schedule. He wasn't eating correctly. And then the doctor said, "You're going to be dead." And then he fled. He fled due to a pronouncement from a medical doctor. Had nothing to do with the miserable 20 questions I asked him.
They should have had the doctor folding towels.
So the comment was canceled, and I had a senior exec come to me and say, "Oh, it was all a mistake, sorry. Go back on post, start." No apology.
No.
I went through 3 weeks of hell, interviewed back and forth, and they've got a technique of making you really feel that you committed a crime. I looked at the eval, John, these data series evaluators named me as the who. There's in Scientology, there has to be a who. things don't just happen. It rolls back to who.
Mm.
They named me as the who of the entire Eastern United States.
Mm.
The reason that money was down, the reason that the money collapsed was me, who went to ask Bo a few questions on his crimes. That's why it's a very dark period. Anyway, that is Scientology. Just so your audience know, the finger is always pointed to someone. And when the finger is pointed at someone, you will be punished and you will obey. Obey.
One of the most dreadful Hubbard documents is the Hubbard Communications Office Manual of Justice. And
yes,
very pleased to say that it was during a court case trying to stop the publication of my book, Let's Sell These People a Piece of Blue Sky, when it became evident that in fact they'd let the copyright lapse on this book. So if anybody out there would like to publish it, you can. And in the Manual of Justice, it says that you have to put a head on a pike. So as soon as something goes wrong, you scapegoat somebody, you blame them, so that will calm everybody down. It's, of course, and he then says, well, of course, we're the only people who can patch somebody up when they've been traumatized in this way. And you've just evidenced the way that somebody will be patched up after they've been the head on the pike. They'll be told to get back to work. You know?
Yeah.
So, and I'd also like to point out that in Scientology, that it is true, there is a who, there is somebody who is responsible for all of these horrors. And that somebody was Lafayette Ronald Hubbard. And you know, it's whenever I trace stories back, when I found some horrible thing that had happened. I mean, I often think about the so-called Battle of Britain in the summer of 1974, when Alex Sibursky came to England. This is about 5 months before I got involved in Scientology, so it's much later because nobody talked about it. And he'd rounded people up and stuck them in a marquee at St. Hill, on the grounds of St. Hill Manor in East Grinstead, and said, you can't leave until you write me a check. And these were called postulate checks because you'd write a future date on it, an amount on it. And about that time, I was told later, about half the membership of Scientology in the UK left because of the pressure that was put on them. Sibursky was
Battle of Britain?
The Battle of Britain, yeah, which was a rotten thing to call it, given the experience of the real Battle of Britain back in August, September 1940, the Battle of the Skies. But, you know, Hubbard had put this guy in there. Sibursky, of course, is then declared suppressive and told he's got to sell 10,000 copies of Dianetics, the mental science of modern health, as I call it, and which he probably did. But as I researched this story, I found out that in fact he'd received his orders from Diana Hubbard. So she wasn't blamed. But I also then found that Diana Hubbard, I found somebody who'd overheard the conversation, had been instructed by Ron Hubbard. So that everything that was done, you know, as the Germans say, a fish stinks from the head down. And if you're having problems with an organization, it's always good to look at the person at the top of the organization and work your way down rather than, you know, blaming some underling. But that's Scientology for you.
Hi, John here. Thanks for watching. We'd appreciate it very much if you would click like, as well as subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Every dollar helps, and we welcome new patrons on Patreon, or you can make a one-off payment with any currency through PayPal. Thanks so much.